Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. Today is a very special episode. I don't know if you can notice the background, but we are in a special podcast studio. Forefront Media has offered to host this special podcast here in Rolling Hills Estates, and we are so excited to be coming to you with four incredible women, myself included, to talk to you a little bit about a project that we have coming up on March 27th. It's an event called Feel to Thrive, and this is part of my event series this month, all about thriving in life. And so I'm so excited to introduce you to these women who have become great friends of mine, collaborators in business and in life. And we are just so fortunate that all of us have met and come together for this exciting opportunity and collaboration. So I will go ahead and briefly introduce them, and then we're going to dive into all of the good stuff. First, we have Ashley Chaney. She is a wife and mom, two beautiful children, and she is a worship leader, a singer. I can't wait to hear you sing. I have yet to hear you sing.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Oh, maybe we'll get her to sing on the show. And she is an author and a health enthusiast. And her goal and mission in life is to help women with body image and self-worth and educating them about all the toxins that we put into our body and help them really focus on health through mindset. So Ashley is amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And then we have her fabulous partner, Samantha Warner. Yes, partner. She is an incredible, she's been in brand strategy for 2 decades, worked with lifestyle brands, finance companies, you name it. And she has launched some incredible brands. And we are so lucky to have her as part of this Feel to Thrive effort because you are just a pro at everything that you do. And she also hosts retreats. And we can't wait to dive into all that you do as well. And we have Corry Matthews, who's been on the show before. She is our fitness and health wellness expert. And she is incredible with helping women tap into their bodies and figure out what's going on with their hormones, helping them live a better quality of life through the foods that they eat, and just all around, expert in the health and wellness and fitness arena. So the four of us have come together to really help empower women to thrive in their lives, to feel what they're going through in their life so they can move forward in whatever it is that they want to do. And so without further ado, we'll kind of dive into the story of Feel to Thrive and how it came to be. And I'll just start off by saying I was so fortunate, obviously, to meet Corry, and I have known her for several years, but to connect with Samantha, and we kind of hit it off right away, talking about our passion for growth and for helping women in life thrive and step into who they're really truly meant to be. And through that connection, I got to meet Ashley, and we've just kind of been jiving for, I don't know, maybe a couple months, figuring out what we wanted to do together, come together to create this collaboration so that we could help all of you. So I don't know who wants to go first and kind of dive into Feel to Thrive and what our plans are. Do you want to start, Ashley?
Ashley does.
Yeah. Okay, go for it.
It's me. Well, Sam and I have been working together for over a year to figure out how to bring all of our experiences and strengths together. But it all comes from like this connection of we have a shared trauma point in our lives. And as moms and wives and like professionals, all the things that we deal with in life, to like have this time to go, oh, you're going through it too? Yeah, I'm going through it too. And we connected and bonded on that shared trauma point, and then realize that, whether you're an expert in anything or anything that you go through in life, when you get to a point where you realize that the goal is to help as many people as possible, do the work that you got to experience in growth. I think we kind of came to that point. Like the first time we ever talked about business, we were like, did we just become best friends and business partners?
Then and there.
Yeah. Done.
I do branding. I have a business. I have an idea. Okay,
that's great. Yeah. So it's neat to see like everything we've worked on over the last 20 years. Yeah. Like, oh, that's why I experienced that forever. That's why I went through this. That's why I became an expert in this. So, Feel to Thrive is just such a cool collaboration of coming together ultimately to help women get to a point where they can feel their feelings, discover maybe trauma points, things that we've gone through in our lives, identities, and then getting to a point where we can process through those healthily so that we can begin a journey of wellness, whether that's physical wellness or spiritual wellness or emotional and professional wellness. And that's where I think it's so neat. Like the four of us coming together in all of these areas of expertise, it's mind, body, spirit, and soul. And Yeah. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the amazing part. We right away realized that you ladies, Samantha and Ashley, are so focused in the feel portion. And you had this vision of how you wanted to create space for women to really feel and go through those experiences of trauma points and get that stuff out.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, everything that I do is after that
After
part,
the out.
right? So stepping into the part where you've gone through the stuff and you've gotten in there, and then how do we take that next step forward to then grow from all of those experiences
Right.
and put ourselves into living the best life possible. And Corry definitely adds to that thrive element because of your experience and expertise in getting your body healthy and right to live the best life that you can. So
Right.
tell us a little bit about your vision for your portion.
And I think that falls into everything with the feel. I mean, I primarily work with women that are 35 and older. So, if we just start looking at what happens, and it's so much in you're hearing about it so much more about hormones and how they change and everybody experiencing that. And I find so many women, they hit that age of 35 and, we're no longer 20s and early 30s and things are changing. And routinely, when I talk to women talking about where they want to go, the number one thing is holding them back is some sort of health issue. And primarily for women, it's weight. They're talking about, I have this vision or this goal or this dream, or I want to do this, but I'm struggling because of my weight, or I'm struggling because of I feel bad, or I've got too much going on with kids, and I'm can't get to where I need to be. And they're talking about brain fog and being dizzy, and I'm gaining weight all of a sudden and I don't know why. And so it's really trying to talk to women about if there's anything holding you back in your health, let's fix that.
Yeah.
So that you
Absolutely.
can go and do those dreams. I've seen so many people, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I have seen people go on to do the most incredible things when they fix whatever it is with their health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they stop letting it be. And that's what I loved about when you guys talked about feel and really feel it. Because so many times people have to realize exactly what it's doing to them. And I mean, I have a personal experience. And so this being my life, it makes so much sense. But that's why it makes so much sense is then, when they get to feel that, whatever aspect it is, we're going to get them to take immediate steps, and they're going to walk away with those steps immediately.
It's amazing. And there's so much to this that is intertwined, because obviously feeling and going through pain, if you haven't processed it, creates health problems.
Right.
So there's all of it manifesting in your body as, physical symptoms, but really a lot of the times it's come down to emotions and burying stuff that or eating your way through pain or whatever it is. And so all of this is intertwined, and it really is kind of getting at the root of how to live your best life is getting your health in order and getting your mindset in order. So I'd love to ask you, Samantha, because you have such an incredible background and experience in corporate and branding and working on other companies' brands. And you finally decided to kind of step into this role and do it with your own vision for the first time ever. And so I want to hear about that process.
Yeah. So I've got 25 years in design and branding, working for other people, as you said. And through that time, I have been burnt out. And when in my burnout times, completely ill, on the floor, the whole things. And just through naturopathic nutrition, healed myself, and then went into the wellness space and realized, I was just masking. I was just doing this world of corporate, and this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have a job in London, and I'm supposed to work these hours, and I'm supposed to do this and provide for my family, and realized in my wellness journey for the last 10 years, as working for other people too, of really how we've put on these identities and these masks in our lives to achieve, which is all great if we're connected, but we live in a world that's so disconnected from ourselves, from our environment and our relationships. And so when we get back to a place of being connected in ourselves, then we can start being in this kind of authentic space of who we are. And then from that space, we reach this space of creativity, which then births new books, podcasts, all the things that you've been wanting to do because you're so innately you in that process. So I'm in that time of launching and birthing and creating something that's really incredible about feeling and about how we dive into that in order to become our creative selves.
Yeah.
from our authentic place.
Amazing. And there are so many women I know and I'm thinking of right now who listen to this podcast who are in that place of saying, I always had this dream to do this. But, I started the career and then I took a pause to have my kids and I never went back. Or I went down a path of choosing a career that really wasn't in line with my authentic self and who I wanted to be in the world. And we all have these paths that we go down. And it sometimes takes an awakening to get to the place where you give yourself permission because you're realizing that identity is no longer serving you.
Yeah.
And so when you can get to that place of going inward and feeling and trusting the process of what you're going through, then you're allowed to go out and explore anything that is possible, right? And so I think this is a really important point to kind of dive into is all of us are mothers. A lot of people who listen to this podcast are mothers. And I just really want to give permission to women to step into who they are destined to be, who they were created to be, so that they can live an authentic life and purpose for themselves as well as their families. I think there's so much
oxygen mask theory.
Yes, thank you. Well, we all know what the oxygen mask theory is, right?
Well, like you can't, that phrase where like you can't out supplement a bad diet, right? You can't out work out a bad diet out of the kitchen. Well, it's like you can't out achieve emotional health. You can't be an overachiever to do to cover up the fact that we're not actually emotionally transparent and authentic and all of those things. And that's what births who you are. That doesn't mean that you might not go through this process and still be a top corporate CEO, whatever, because that's who you were gifted to be. It doesn't mean that like all of us are going to end up with like chickens and a dress and, I know that does sound kind of amazing, but you know what I mean? Like it doesn't, just because you go through this process doesn't mean we're going to like pigeonhole you into this is the only thing that could, because that's just putting another identity on it, right? Yeah. But it's allowing you to have that peace and that the oxygen to live and then make the decisions that you're supposed to make and have peace and comfort in that and be backed by who you know you are, not who you think you're supposed to be because society or whoever in your life is saying this is who you are. So yeah, that's
exactly. I mean, I definitely this is part of my rebirth was realizing that I had gone down this path of creating an identity for myself that I thought was what I was supposed to be doing. And when I woke up one day and said, I haven't been living in alignment with my true self, and I love my kids and want to be home with my kids, but I also want to have this other thing that I do that's not even closely related to being a mom, really, and separate from my business that I run with my husband, but something that's really, truly, authentically me. And stepping into that place of allowing myself to feel that first and foremost, and not feel guilty about that, and let go of that thought and that identity and that limiting belief that's telling me you're a mom, you have to put them first. Yeah. Which we do, but it's okay to also put yourself first. Yeah. Because when you do put that oxygen mask on first, then you're able to serve them in a way that you couldn't otherwise.
Without resentment.
Without resentment. Without and so I just think that's such an important thing that we share, right?
Yeah. I think you mentioned the word guilt. There, part of the work that we do or we're about to do, especially at Feel to Thrive, is taking you through a process of feeling all those things, all those fear, guilt, shame, resentment, all the things, because we need to acknowledge that that's how we feel.
Yeah.
And then move on from that.
And we don't
sometimes we don't give ourselves permission.
We don't give ourselves permission. And I think what's so important about this event is that we're going to hold a space, for an intimate space. It's not going to be, it's going to be about 100 women, but it will be a safe space for you to process all of this and really allow yourself the time to feel these things and then get them out and move forward in a way that at least if you've released some of it, there's this idea that it's possible to release it, right? I mean, oh, wow, I got to let that out and
feels good.
It felt good to give myself the time to go through that. So, and then kind of get back to the idea of, okay, I can't give yourself power to say, I do have the ability to move forward.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Well, because I think what Sam and I are working on is we're not trying to fix you
No.
in this process. In fact, we're claiming that we can't.
Yeah, we can't do that.
But in order for you to have a successful experience with somebody like Corry, where you're searching for this next level of fitness or wellness or feeling good in your jeans, whatever it is, or for you in your next level of professionalism and what am I doing with my career and all these things, that barrier is those feelings and not stepping into who you are authentically. And we have a lot of narratives that we are our own, that get out of your own way.
Yep.
That's what we're doing. You gotta get out
I think
get
it
out of
gets
your
to
own
that.
way.
I think especially with Jen and I, when we're working with people and helping them, it's always about getting to that why.
Yes.
And getting that deep why. And they always say that true why, like you'll really, really know when you break down and you're in tears and you can feel it.
Yes.
So immediately when you guys talk about it, I'm like, yes, because you don't get to be 50 pounds overweight or have diabetes and all these other things overnight. It's a process of things going and understanding that. And there's lots of feelings and stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
So getting to that point allows you, I feel, to become who you want to be.
Yeah.
So we want to get people to that step one.
Yeah.
That's step for you, for all of these professionals out there that are helping people grow. Like, let's get to the dirty work for
With the
them.
dirty work.
And then here.
Well, and I think getting back to it's funny because, and I think back to like when I was growing up in the 1980s and 90s and even the 2000s, the thought was you put all your personal feelings and your emotions aside to go be this thing out in the world, right? And so none of your personal stuff comes to work with you, number one, right? And then after that, it's compartmentalizing. Like the expectation was you compartmentalize your life between your friends, your family, your work, whatever. And so none of those things intertwined. And now what we're learning in society is that actually the only way to truly thrive is for all of those things to be in alignment, right? And so it's a really, I love it because we're in such a great time of growth in society where we get to like step into this place and say, no, I need to be in my true authentic self in order to do well in business, in order to be a good mom, in order to be a good friend. All of those things have to be in alignment with each other. And I think, I don't know, that is just the way that I see the future and the future of business. And you can start to see it in even some corporate settings, but where the old ways of the past are just really not productive anymore.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they were cover-ups.
They were cover-ups, exactly.
Mask. Get rid of the mask.
And it used to be the whole fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Everybody was that. And I think recently I've heard just do it scared, do it, afraid, do it imperfect, but, borrow from one of the companies that I'm always wearing their clothes. Just do it. Like actually
Just do it. Yeah.
and I think that's what like all of us have from the very beginning of like interacting with all of us. It was just that. It's just get out there and do it.
Do it.
Do the work that
100%.
it takes. And it can be so rewarding.
And I think when you said, I love that line, do it scared, anyway, because it gives you permission to allow fear to be a positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So instead of
motivator.
fear can be a positive motivator. There's we can talk forever about the fight or flight response, what happens in your brain when you sense fear and how, thousands of years ago or how many ever years ago it was designed in us to keep ourselves alive, that fight or flight response. But we no longer have those dangers, but we still have that response.
Well, you just nailed it because that's one of the things, one of the focuses is that like we were given all of these feelings and these emotions for a reason.
Yeah.
For survival, for it's primal, it's our innate, it's who we are.
Yeah.
But it's then not categorizing those things as good or bad.
Right.
But like, okay, I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling this? What is this doing to help me move forward in my life?
Exactly.
And not just from a survival standpoint. I mean, first world problems, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are surviving maybe emotionally, but we're not really in survival mode. So it's like harnessing those and using them as superpowers instead of something that's going to hold us back.
Right. And the fear is actually checking in with the fear and where it's coming from can actually help you understand how to move through it and then use it as fuel, right?
Acknowledge.
Use fear as fuel. I love that line. Yeah.
Trademarked.
Isn't that a good one? I know. I heard that somewhere else. Maybe Mel Robbins or someone like that. I don't know. But anyway, the point is that getting uncomfortable and doing it scared is how you grow.
Way. Mm-hmm.
And it's the only, and
Courageous.
once you learn that like sitting back and keeping yourself quiet and just doing the thing that's safe is going to keep you stuck in that place.
Yeah. Sam and I say that feel is not a 4-letter word. It has
So
been a
good.
4-letter word for a lot of us our whole lives, and it's not.
It
it's
was,
not.
it was
Yeah.
almost portrayed as a weakness.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't show your feelings.
Right.
I'm British. Don't show your
Don't
feelings.
Stoic. Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. 100%.
That work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all have a story of growing up in some sort of environment and feeling like you couldn't feel because if
No.
you showed your feelings. I remember I had a friend, family member used to call me a crybaby because I was going through a lot and as a child and in my household, and I would have these moments where I would just cry out of nowhere. And I remember when I would get teased or called a crybaby or whatever, that made me internalize it even more.
Right.
And so,
There was something wrong.
there was something wrong,
Yeah.
but really there was something going on that justified those feelings, but society didn't allow you to feel. And so it's just such an important thing that we're talking about this now and making this the norm.
Well, I think there's a reason, not to get like too deep into all of our backgrounds, but
Yeah.
we were raised by a generation. We were all raised by a certain generation, and that certain generation was raised by another generation.
Right.
So it's these like generational learning points or non-learning points. Like a lot of our parents, they were, you didn't go to therapy. That meant there was something wrong with you. Versus the mindset that the people that are out there that are healthy is because they went to therapy, they did the work, right? That it's that shift.
Yep.
And we were raised by those people. So it's created now a generation of those of us who are just like searching.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Because everybody, the parents that we were raised by were covering it all up.
Yeah.
And that's only because that was their survival.
Right.
That was their coping mechanism, the way that they were taught. So it's this thing of like, then we look at our kids, for those of us who are mothers, and all of our target demographic is women. A lot of them are mothers, and we don't want to do that to our kids. But then sometimes we vacillate to an unhealthy extreme from where we were raised. So it's like, no, we got to bring that pendulum back to the middle.
Exactly. Such a good point.
Yeah.
On this topic, I'm just thinking about it as we're talking about upbringing and the shift in society. I'd love to talk a little bit about faith because I know we're all very, spiritual, faith-driven women, and we're not afraid to talk about it.
Right.
And I have had an episode on my podcast where I talked to a spiritual leader and about the topic of why religion is and faith in particular is kind of has been one of these taboo topics in society. And I think the four of us, what I love, are not afraid to share our faith. That doesn't mean that we don't acknowledge that someone else may have a different belief or faith, and we honor that and want to support all women and people who have all backgrounds of faith. But for the four of us, I believe we're all kind of from the place that if you're in alignment with your connection with God, you can do no wrong, right? And so it's kind of exploring that part of yourself as well. And you could call it the universe, or you could call it God or Jesus, or however you discuss your relationship with your spirituality. But it's a healthy thing to talk about.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because what it does is bring in personal responsibility. If you believe what I believe, I was created by the God of the universe, but it's my job to allow him into my life, right? To be a space that God can even do any work. Because if I'm closed up, if I'm drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, if I'm overachieving, if I'm over exercising, like those are just all barricades.
Yes.
Not only to the things that, God wants for my life, but to my creator in general. So no matter what your faith is, if you are not doing this work, you're not allowing whatever you believe to be an actual positive work for growth in your life.
Allowing it to come into your life and build that connection, which creates all opportunity.
Right. And there's a reason that I'm a recovery girl. There's a reason that Christian or non-religious recovery programs still have you focus on that higher power
Mhm.
because you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
But you do need to be responsible for yourself. And we are all 100% responsible for the circumstances, the joy, the happiness, whatever it is that we
Yeah.
go through in our lives. And when you can connect with a greater power, in my circumstance, it's Jesus, like,
Mhm.
well, then I've got a partner in this. I'm not
Yeah.
alone. Right. But I'm also like, all right,
Yeah. All right.
we're still working on me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I got you. I'm
Yeah.
listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
What how do you feel about that, Sam? How's God?
Me,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was born and raised in the English Church of England system, and it was very compartmentalized, you know. And this is what's so incredible about where we're at now in terms of you compartmentalize it. At school, you're not a Christian with your
Right.
cool friends.
Yeah.
At home and on a Sunday, you are a Christian.
Yes.
And I have grown up with that compartmentalizing and feeling uncomfortable when I shared my faith when I was younger and at college and in my 20s and in my 30s. You know, it's been a really uncomfortable thing. And to be honest, it's only recently since I moved to California and realized everyone is way more open about their Christian faith.
Mm.
And to me, I was like, oh, I finally feel like I can find my voice.
Mm.
You know, so I went through that feelings piece of being a Christian, and that's
Nicely
how
done.
we met. I know, we met at church,
That's
you know,
awesome.
and again, it's like, okay, God,
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to talk more and be more authentic in my faith.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this golden thread that everything weaving together right now is really incredible.
Exactly. Corey, has faith come into your life in a way, like obviously with family and whatnot, but through your health, your journey with your health? Do you have any connection to that?
Well, I'd say when I was young, my father was killed in a plane crash when I was 7. And so my siblings were 4 and 1. And I remember, you know, at that time, I remember just being really upset that I didn't have a father. And, you know, somebody had said, you know, God will be your father and he will take care of you. And there were numerous things that happened in my life when I was really little. And I remember, you know, for me saying, you know, sitting in my bedroom being like, God, I just need to know you're there. I just need to know you're there. And I was home alone and I remember feeling somebody just give me the biggest hug. Like, and I was like, okay, somebody's here. And it's weird because over life, like, you know, that kind of went away when I got older, when I went to college. And the really cool thing is my daughter, my youngest daughter, is so into her faith. And so, you know, she's reading her Bible every night. And she's like, Mom, will you take me to church? And, you know, she made me, so this year for my birthday, I said, what I would love more than anything from you is would you please put together a playlist? Because she has got, like, I'm going to have to bring her to your church.
Yeah.
She loves worship music. Yes. And, you know, she just picks out the best music. And I said, would you please put something together? You know, and so we are rocking out on the way to school and listening to the best Christian music. And it fills my soul up. And I'm just realizing, you know, no matter what, you've got to be able to believe in something, you know?
Yeah.
And people say, you know, faith is just really believing in something that you can't see.
Mhm.
So even when I talk to my clients about health and wellness, like, can you see yourself as a healthier person? Because if you can, that's your faith right there. If you can actually visualize that, that'll help you get through this whole process. And for me, knowing that there's something else that I can believe in that's out there, that's looking after me, taking care of me, that I can reach out to for support, it's something that, you know, I feel like people need, you know, and for
absolutely.
me, it keeps me grounded.
I think
100%.
Yeah, I have a point to add on both these points is like we were brought together through my daughter at church, and you know, you're saying about your daughter and their generation, going back to the generation conversation, their emotional inheritance right now, and we're in this generation of what was and now what is.
Yes.
You know, and it's such a privilege to be in this space to learn from our kids and have the confidence to start stepping into our authentic selves because of our kids,
Yeah.
because of what they're teaching us, you know, and
Yeah.
it's so freeing to see them like, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
checking in, you know. And
It's
things like
so
that.
true. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to add to, I think we are, again, living in such an amazing time because we are so aware and we're straddling those two, you know, eras of time. And we are
Yeah.
looking back and saying what didn't work.
Yeah.
Let's hold on to the things that did.
Yeah.
Right. Because there are a lot of good things
Yes.
about, you know, our upbringings and
Yeah.
things that we learned in that
Yeah.
time. And, you know, everybody says the 80s were the best time ever. I loved the 80s. But besides that, how we parent
Yeah.
now based on our awareness is giving them permission to
Right.
step into who they truly are. And it's such a gift.
You said at the beginning, like, people don't want to share their faith, or because society says, or religion, the words religion. But here's the deal. If we are living our lives authentically, and it's a label,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
But
label.
it's a
Yeah.
relationship. What it is a relationship. And there's a common thread, like Corry said, that if we're not being authentic, you're not going to have a relationship with God. You're not going to have the fitness journey that you want. You're not going to have the career that you want. This is this thing where this is a cycle breaking thing. This is a society peeling away thing, and it has to do with your faith. And that's why we're talking about like holistic wellness
Yes.
is spiritual wellness, physical wellness, all of these things. Like the fact that I'm a worship leader at a church, and that I'm sober, and that I have a career, and that I have kids is the only explanation for that, is the God of the universe, in my opinion, that I'm even alive. Just with life, with traumas, with all these things, but you don't use those as reasons to mask and to not feel and to be a victim or whatever. You use them as fuel
Exactly.
to move forward. And faith is a part of that. And I'm unapologetically, faith is a massive part of that. But like you said, if somebody comes into our event that does not have that relationship, that maybe was hurt by religion, that maybe, has this like conception of what people who are religious might be. I'll tell you right now that the four of us are not those
Not
people.
that.
No. not at all. And
Not
that's a
that there's
beautiful
anything
thing.
wrong with that.
But that's the beautiful thing. Like, I'm up on stage. People see me on Sunday all the time. They might have oh, well, she was probably brought up in a Christian home and this and that. And like, little do they know, my house was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. My dad killed himself 6 years ago. Like, it was not that. The reason that I'm there is because God put me there.
Right.
And that's the difference.
That's
and I
a
hope
really
people-
good thing that you just brought up, because people assume right out of the bat,
Yes.
when they see someone, they're already sizing them up
Yeah.
and looking at them and saying, oh, they must be this or that. And that's one of the problems with society. And that's why we as women want to come together to create this space to remove all of that
Remove the
judgment, to remove all of that, whatever it is, the way you look, represents who you are on the inside. And yes, we all dress and we carry ourselves in a way that we want to represent ourselves, but we have stories. We're all individuals with all individual experiences. I grew up in an affluent community here in Palos Verdes and had a lot of opportunity, a lot of things, but there was a lot of stuff going on the inside that no one knew about, that you can really assume my life was perfect, but it was far from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we do to each other that breaks connection.
Yeah.
Judgment breaks connection. It keeps us from building relationships because we're assuming someone isn't like us. And it's just such an interesting, and religion and feeling and all of the things we're talking about today really are a part of all of this bigger picture of conversation. So I just wanted to mention that. So getting to our event, a little bit more about our event, because I guess we should talk about it since we're all here together.
We are the event.
We are the event. You're getting the sneak peek right here. But we want to give, ladies and, anyone listening the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what to expect from that day. I know people are hitting me up all over the place, I'm sure, on social media and emails and stuff. What's this event and what should I expect? And, do I have to own a business to be there or whatever? So Corry, why don't you talk a little bit about kind of what your vision of what Field to Thrive is, maybe from just like, if you were explaining it to someone who didn't listen to this podcast.
I think what I've just been telling people is, if you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you're alone, if you feel like there's something more, this is where you want to be. Because when you were just talking, it was one of those things that I think with all the four of us, everything that we believe and everything that we share and everything that we teach, we're a product of all of our own products.
Right.
Like, we've been there, like you say, people to say you're lucky or whatever, people, will say, oh, well, you've had it easy. I'm like, no, I gained 25 pounds in menopause and it sucked. And I'm a fitness and nutrition expert.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to have all the answers. So I think that's just, I keep telling people, like, and I have goosebumps saying this, I'm like, you just have to be around these women. I'm like, there's just something about it. They want, what I felt from all of you guys is, you want the very best for women. You want them to just feel everything they possibly can, to walk away and realize that all their dreams are possible. But because of society, because of where we are in life, and because of all the things that we're doing, I think so many of us are struggling figuring out, how do we get there? Whether it's imposter syndrome or feeling like you're not good enough or feeling like, I'm in the throes of little kids and I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
It's just because maybe somebody hasn't talked to you about it a different way. And maybe it's been approached, it's either career or either fitness or it's, it's one of those, but it's not. I think it's more, and when you guys said it, it's the sisterhood of women coming together
Yeah.
because women experience things different.
Yeah.
There's something that we feel like people ask me all the time. So I put together once a month, I lead a group for women and it's women in business. And people are like, well, why can't men come? I'm like, there's just something different about women when we get together and we're, things happen and it's so hard to explain to anybody. So I'm just telling people, if anything about this event has said, I want to go, just
go.
Come. Because
come.
I think what we don't even understand, even the four of us, I don't think we actually understand just how powerful this event is going to be by itself until it's all said and done. And I'm telling everybody, you don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a really powerful, excellent way of describing it is if there's one thing that resonates with you, it's like, just come. Don't worry about whether you fit in or whether this is where you are in your life. Just come. If you're feeling inspired in some capacity, like get in the room, right? I always say get in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because I think everyone who hears the event is like, oh, what they want to overanalyze it. What can I get at it? What's it going to be like? I need all the details. And it's like, it feels uncomfortable to do something you don't know or you've not experienced before.
Right.
That's a feeling.
It's a feeling, guys.
Isn't it said the best
uncomfortable.
Best growth happens outside your comfort zone?
Right.
That's the only way it happens.
You are going to feel uncomfortable if you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Hence why we're giving you a bit of background. But I think it's more about, as Jen said, trust that instinct, trust that niggle that you might have just to be like, oh, maybe, and get curious. You don't know until you come.
Yeah, exactly.
But, we're not like having seances.
No sales.
No.
You get to keep your clothes on. There's no weird potions we're drinking. It is about health and wellness. So we're going to move our bodies. We're going to explore our minds and our emotions. We're going to get some encouragement and some testimony. I mean, listening to other people's stories is always helpful for us. So we're moving, we're growing, we're feeling. We're doing all of those things together in a very safe space, in a really rad space too.
Really cool venue, the Lab in Gardena. And it's going to be an amazing day. I think for me, every time I put myself in one of these types of scenarios, and there's been nothing that I've gone to that's like what we're doing.
No.
Doesn't exist.
But it doesn't exist yet. But what we're creating is a place to, like Ashley and Samantha and Corry have said, is just feel, grow, thrive, but connect, right?
Yep.
Make real connection, not only with other women that you might feel that you didn't know before, but I think sometimes those are the best relationships when you create a connection out of nowhere because you were in a moment with someone that sparked something inside of you.
Yeah.
And so that connection is incredible. And then obviously the most important connection is with yourself. So I think this is what the four of us are so excited to share and do with all of you. And hopefully we'll see you there on March 27th, and we'll have all the information in the show notes on where to find us, how to follow us. What else? Anything else we want to share before we wrap up?
I think just on that note, we've been talking about feelings and it's the how. We're going to show you how to do this. Because it's like, well, how do I get in touch with my feelings? How do I start working out? How do I feel good? How do I focus on my career? We're going to give you some really good bite-sized nuggets.
Yeah, so like tangible exercise and tools that you can take. Yeah, that's such a good point. There's a lot of takeaway. I think a lot of times you go to an event and you might get one thing, and that's great. And as long as you get one thing out of it, that's amazing. Or at least you just enjoy the day and meeting new people. Yeah. But more importantly, we really want you to walk away from Feel to Thrive feeling like you can step into your next day with something different, feeling empowered, feeling like you can move forward in some capacity. I'm doing the same thing. Like a lot of people ask me, because I talk about tapping into your intuition a lot and how to really go inward and tap into your intuition to know your path. And a lot of people are like, I don't know how to do that. And, I don't know how to listen. I don't know how. And so I'm going to be doing some exercises on how to do that as well. So I think it's really important to know that there will be takeaway from this event. And and you're going to get some incredible knowledge from Corry about health and hormone wellness and fitness and all that. So you're going to walk away just super empowered to hopefully make a huge impact and change your life for the better.
And our lunch is Corry Matthews approved.
Oh, right.
So you will be fueled.
And delicious.
Yeah.
And delicious. Exactly. So it's going to be an amazing day. Before we wrap up, ladies, I want to actually just ask each one of you a question so that we can share with our listeners a little bit more about who we are as individuals. I'll start with you, Ashley. I know I'm putting them on the spot too. This is something that just came to me. So hopefully I'm not putting them on the spot too much, but usually those are the most authentic answers anyway. So you're at the pearly gates at the end of your life and you're facing God and he says, tell me what impact you made on the world. What would you say?
See, I'm feeling right now just hearing that question because I want the best for people. That's always, I'm a champion for those people in my life. And I think because of what I've been through in my life, it's difficult to break that trust wall. So I'm your champion. Yeah. So I think that's the impact. Sometimes you just need somebody in your corner.
Yeah. And you're already doing it. Yeah. So by the time you get to the pearly gates, think of how many people you will have impacted in your life.
Feeling.
Yeah. It's awesome. Okay, Sam, well, hopefully you had a couple of seconds to think about your answers. I'm not putting you on the spot, but what would you say?
To inspire people. I think I have been told in my life sometimes I'm too happy and too bright and too much because of that.
Yeah.
And it's not until recently that I'm like, I'm too happy and I'm too bright and I'm going to own that and I'm going to inspire you. Not that every day is happy and bright. It's worth living.
Yeah.
It's worth living. And I want to inspire people to live authentically.
Amazing. And you're doing it. Love it. Okay, Corry, putting you on the spot. What would you say if God asked you, what's the impact you made on the world?
Well, I think the thing is these days we're living to be 100.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not meeting God in our 50s anymore. We're meeting him when we're 100 years old. And I want people to live pain-free and the ability to be able to do that. So I want people to know that. I think in society, it's too much of, if anyone's in menopause, they'll get this whole, you can't eat gluten, you can't eat dairy, you can't eat sugar, you can't have alcohol, you got to walk 10,000 steps, you got to wear a weighted vest, you got to live. It's not that hard. Being healthy isn't that hard. There's simple little things you can do. And I want to allow people to realize that they can live their healthiest, best life, and it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
My aunt is 75 years old and she is traveling the world. She's playing golf and she is just living her healthiest, best life.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. I want to show people that whether you are 20 or you are 80, you can live your healthiest, best life. And so I want to have done that. I want to have lived my healthiest, best life with my family and my kids and have accomplished that and been an inspiration. So I think, I would say it's almost a combination of these two.
Yeah.
It's I want to inspire people to do the change that they need to do, but then challenge them to say, if you're unhealthy, let's do something about it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be miserable if you just sit here and live in this.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're giving people, again, permission, but not just permission, guidance to step into their healthiest self by just taking that one step and then that one step and that one step. And it's really, like you said, not that hard. It's about just making the decision, making up in your mind that you want to do something about it. And then, you're giving countless women the gift of going through menopause and perimenopause and all those things. So God's looking down on you saying, thank you, because I'm sorry, the women have to go through menopause. This is part of evolution. So you're helping them with that. So thank you for that.
What about you, Jen?
Don't think you're going to get away with that
Oh,
one.
I know. Okay. So I have to say, I think if I'm being truly authentic, I would say to God, you put me on this earth to do something. And I didn't learn the lesson early enough, but I listened to you, I listened to my intuition, and I stepped into who I was meant to be. And now it is my goal and was my goal to inspire as many women as possible to be who they were designed to be and not live a life of expectation
Yeah.
and guilt and, covering up feelings with, financial, impact and desires that really don't fuel you and help you become the person that you are. All those things are great,
Yeah.
but that's not what's going to give you true joy in life. And I want to be able to teach as many women as I can that lesson because I went through it and I'm grateful that I woke up thanks to God. And yeah, that's it for me.
So great.
Thank you. Well, thank you ladies so much. This has been so much fun. I think we could sit here for another hour
all day.
and just chit chat. And we'll
Yeah.
definitely have to do this again after the event and do like a wrap conversation. Yeah, but we can't wait for all of you to come to Feel to Thrive on March 27th at the lab in Gardena and continue to follow us on all of our Instagrams. All that good info will be in the show notes. And if you haven't purchased your ticket yet, go ahead and do that because it's getting close. All right. Thanks so much for joining us.